All right. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Clubhouse Picks brought to you by Godzilla Wins. I'm your host, Jack Fredericks, editor of GodzillaWins.com, where you can get all your sports analysis and predictions from the NBA to the UFC. Clubhouse Picks is your go-to podcast for PGA predictions, tournament previews, and salty picks for the veteran golf fan. It is a lovely Tuesday evening here for me in Mississippi on August 8th, and we're here to talk to you about the St. Jude Championship, the first round of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Super exciting moment for golf here, as always, as we get into the dog days of August. I'm here with my co-host, Nate Perry, as always, the greatest handicapping caddy west of the Rockies, and a special guest this week. We love to have him on the show, Keith Fleming, who is the director of DFS content for Fantasy and Frames, host of the Daily Fix Show, and the weekly guest on ESPN's Northwest Radio Inside Drive. So Keith, happy that you joined the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. What is east of the mountains? Because if you said this side, west of the mountains, is there anything east of it? Or I'm just trying to figure out. I'm not very good at geography. So,
well, Nate lives west of the Rockies in Nevada, and I live east of the Rockies in Mississippi. So I guess I wouldn't want to call him the greatest handicapping caddy in the world, because that would leave me out. So I
love it. Okay. that was the clarification I was trying to get. I just wanted to make sure.
I contained him to his geographical area so as not to disclude me from any information there, or any ranking about who's the number one golf. Yeah, that's right.
But no, I'm doing well. I appreciate you guys having me on. Always fun to talk golf, with like-minded people. And, I love this stuff. I know you guys love this stuff, and I can talk about it all day. So let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get into it in a minute. The first thing I want to remind our listeners is that if you are in a state where DraftKings is legal and you do not have an account, please go to DraftKings.com and sign up. Use the promo code Godzilla, just like Godzilla Wins. Use the promo code Godzilla for a $5 deposit. We'll turn that $5 into $150 in free play. So DraftKings.com, sign up now in states where that is legal. If you have a gambling problem, because Godzilla Wins is for entertainment purposes only, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. If you live in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Nebraska, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming, you can call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelpline-ma.org. In Massachusetts, call 877-G-HOPE-NY, text HOPE-NY to 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 in Kansas, New Hampshire, 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org in Connecticut, or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, or visit opgr.org in Oregon. Okay, so let's get into this. First, Keith, I just want to mention to our listeners who might not be familiar with you, you have been just on fire this season so far. You've hit a whole bunch of winners. Just tell our audience, if they haven't heard from you in a while, or if they don't follow you, which I recommend they do, on Twitter at Keith Fleming, just how your season's been so far, because this has been a really strong one for you.
It is. I obviously, I like to brag about myself. Everybody does when you're right, but I do want to clarify exactly what I'm doing, because other people are doing different stuff. Each week I give 10 plays for DK. I give an official lineup, 4 other plays. There are obviously 10 golfers that I really like that week. So, if you listen to our pod or read some of my stuff on Fantasy Six Pack, obviously I'll say, you might want to bet on these players to win, top 5, top 10. But anyway, I've had 7 of the last 14 tournaments, the winner in my 10 plays. And again, you can't just pick like all the top guys, because I have to do 6 in a lineup, and I try to do 4 additional kind of in each tier in the pricing systems. And I've been doing this now for a few years. My brain is just all about data, and I love trying to, form the equation because, the info is there. Like, this is a prime example this week where they had other limited events at the St. Jude, but they were just WGCs. You can get a real leg up on that stuff. That's really what I lean into. But you can find me on Fantasy Six Pack. My Twitter handle is @Keith Fleming. That's KeithFleming. And then every, like I said, every Wednesday on the Inside Drive, that's a ESPN Northwest Florida radio program. I go in there for about 45 minutes. We break down the golf tournament. I go over the venue, give my favorite plays, etc. And we'll be transitioning into football in the fall for that. But I also follow a lot of your guys' work. I mean, this is all, we all share, we all copy. That's part of it is I find people that I really trust their opinion and I, get my opinion, look at their stuff and then go from there. But you guys have been killing it. I know Nate from We Know Fantasy has just been on freaking
he's been
unbelievable heater. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's great. Like it's good. I love the game of golf. I have a background in that and it's definitely a passion and it's always more fun when you get them right. But either way, I know you guys do this. I'm the same way. I try to put in as much work as I can. And I promise you, I'm not just giving you a pick without really putting some thought behind it. And I feel almost just as awful as you two when the plays don't work out because I want to give winners. So anyways, I appreciate that plug though. Thank you.
Yeah, I like the analogy that you have the data and then you try to form the equation because that's a lot of what it is okay. Not only do I have the eye test, which is important, you have to actually watch these guys play, which sometimes I get the sense some people who I follow who I don't always love their picks. I don't feel like maybe they're actually watching the game.
You got to look the man in the
golf.
eye.
Yeah, really. You got to, I mean, sometimes
see him under
like,
pressure.
Yeah.
You can see.
You can. I mean, you can see when someone is looking shaky, regardless of what their numbers are. So kind of fitting that equation in the right order, in the right way, at the right week. We talk about that all the time. Nate, I want to talk a little bit about that with the Wyndham, which we'll just recap very quickly here, because this is definitely a situation, another situation for you where you were on Lucas Glover and then you were off Lucas Glover. So the 1 week that like you got off the train 1 week too early, that's been happening to you a lot. So just tell us about kind of Lucas's win here. I mean, he's been hot, man.
Yeah, I mean, well, the big story with him was just that he finally figured out how to putt. He kind of started fiddling around with a long kind of broomstick style putter and kind of moved through a few different models until he finally found one he liked. And then it was like off to the races. He hasn't really played badly since then. So in a lot of ways, it just felt like, this was another thing that was just destined to happen. Like when we saw kind of Wyndham Clark coming from a ways away before he got a couple victories, it just felt like it was just going to happen at some point once you saw how he was putting and he put it together. And, he got a little help, Ben on and Henley did him some favors by not really.
Well, Henley got a bad break too. That divot, I didn't like that ruling, but whatever.
Yeah. You can say more about that, Keith. We got a couple minutes.
Glover earned the tournament. That's not what I'm trying to say, but it poured, obviously. They were not out there for like 2 hours. That shot hit on the green. It rolled all the way back into like about the worst divot I've ever seen. It's now wet, like soaking wet. I feel like he should have got relief. PGA Tour, says different. I understand once a tournament starts, you can't just change it, but it's the final group. They had a lead. Like they're just, to me, sometimes feels like, I don't know, some of the PGA's rules don't make sense. But Glover, I was right there with you, Nate. I have been on him for 5 weeks. I've been talking about, I think it was 6 weeks ago, he made a statement that he's been had his card for forever. And he was in danger for losing it for the first time in, I think, like a decade. And the next 6 weeks are going to be really important. He's gone out and got 2 wins and 2 top sixes in that time. So I just looked at it that he won the Barbasol. What are the chances of Lucas Glover winning again? And especially in a deeper field, and good for him, he did. And if he keeps putting the way he is, he might make some noise the next 3 weeks because it's been a while since we've had an upset winner of the FedEx. I'd say Horschel was the last like true one. I think we're going to get one this year. I think it's like outside the top 10. And there's already some props like futures I'm looking at in that direction.
There's so much parity right now in the game, and there have been so many, even just in the majors, so many winners for at least a couple. Harmon being the big one, the big long shot. Wyndham Clark also at the time was a huge long shot too. So, when we're talking about the highest stakes golf, there's some huge like long shots. There's just a lot of parity right now in the game. And if you can ride the hot putter, or like in Wyndham Clark's situation where he kind of figured out his iron game and then moved on from there. And that was a weird venue as well. But yeah, I think
he's really good too, though.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I think everybody who follows this had been seeing Wyndham kind of the writing on the wall for him. Like we all were like, man, this guy's playing unbelievable. So it wasn't exactly, I mean, nobody who I think follows the game was really super surprised to see him get that win. But Harman was a big one too. And he's another one who was kind of trending in the right direction at the right time. And he's playing great golf as well.
The data though was so on that like, I mean, I'd never say my favorite pick to win a tournament is somebody in the 100 odds, but in the article that week, that's what I said, because all the numbers were pointing to Harman that week. Like if you, because I was really looking tee to green positional, and it just, again, if you can find, the right metric and, kind of going heavy on that, you can have really good weeks. And the great thing about golf is one big win and you're set for months. So you have months to, what I'm saying? Try to continue to build your bankroll. As long as you don't do anything stupid or, bet it all the next week, you can really build a bankroll.
And what's weird about that data is if you can get the right data set and the equation going, the most difficult thing for me, and Keith mentioned this before, and Nate's mentioned this too. I mean, Keith, you just mentioned this with Glover, like it's just getting your flawed logic out of the way. I mean, sometimes you want the flawed logic. Sometimes you want to see some guy who's been putting well, just eye test, like, this guy's about to break through here. But like, that's a situation where I think for Harman, a lot of people would have looked at that and go, I mean, come on. Like, I mean, it's just not going to happen. I mean, Nate,
that's kind of where Nate was like when we did the podcast. He was like, he was almost kind of like embarrassed to bring it up when we were talking about long shots. He's like, I don't know, like Brian Harman, I guess. And like, he was just sort of like not really wanting to commit to it, but he was like you. He's like, everything in my model says that Brian Harman is a good fit for this, but he's like, I don't really see it. But, maybe my model's right and I'm wrong.
I mean, again, 3 top 20 finishes on link style courses. He was like 3rd in the field in strokes gained, positional courses, like short courses. All the numbers were going on his way. And then he got that great draw. And what was crazy was I was texting people Friday when he just started his round going, bet him now, because you could still get good odds. And I didn't think he was going to obviously go out and shoot 600 or whatever he did. And the tournament was basically over. But I mean, after he was 4 under and the lead was only 1, I was like, oh, he's got a great chance to win. Sometimes you got to get lucky, but then sometimes, it's just, I love that point about, though, we have these notions in our head, right? And that's usually where most of my gambling mistakes come from is I'm like, well, even though my gut's telling me this and the data's telling me this, everybody else will say this if I say this and I'm wrong. And sometimes you just got to go for it.
Yeah, you absolutely do. So one thing I kind of want to transition this conversation a little bit here when we're talking about some of this stuff, because the FedEx Cup is going to be, like you said, some of these props and stuff like that's going to be germane to the conversation. But one of the big things about the FedEx Cup now this year, we got 70 players as opposed to 125. Talked a little bit about Glover. Glover had some comments earlier in the week that were kind of like, hey, this is kind of dumb, which I kind of implied as, okay, well, Glover's maybe got some sour grapes going. Then he went out and won a tournament. Now he's in the top 70. So I don't know, maybe he feels differently now. I mean, sometimes you hear those comments and you think that's like classic athlete talk, where if they're like number 55, they'd be up there being like, oh, I love 70. You got to be really good to this. And then if they're like 80, they're like, oh, this is nonsense. We'll start with Nate, though. I want to get both your takes on just if you think this was the right move for the PGA or if you like the larger field.
I think it's a fine move. I mean, I think that from my perspective, like when I was thinking about it, was like, for years, it's 125 guys could keep their card and they still do. So at the end of the day, if you're like between 70 and 125, like you're never really angling to like win the FedEx Cup anyways. So to me, it feels like more of a reward for guys that kept their card. And, it creates like sort of a more competitive atmosphere by limiting the field a little bit. So I don't hate it myself. I mean, I think that it's fine. And I'm fine with like the big guys on tour getting a little bit more money. Like if that's what it takes to kind of keep the game going.
Keith, you agree?
I don't have a problem with it for the playoffs. I have a huge problem with what they're doing next year and, eliminating a lot of events that don't have cuts and are smaller fields. I don't like that overall. For the postseason, sure, why not? Like, it should be harder to make the playoffs. And I'm pretty sure the 125 stays. It's just that the 70 number is what you have to get in the playoffs. So there's still 125 guys retaining their card every year. And they obviously have the Corn Ferry guys that move up. Now the college guys that come over. I don't know what in the world they can do about the live guys, but I don't like, having these no cut limited events, especially when the points and the money from what I've seen are so much higher. It's giving an unfair advantage to me to the top guys on tour. And Lucas Glover, I think he would say this again, because I believe he said, I wouldn't have even made the playoffs had they not had some of these rules and stuff in place, because he was like 140th, on the tour and the standings. And then he wins the Barbasol, that gets him into all these other events. And then next thing you know, he wins again and he's 49th. So in some ways, I think that's the kind of stuff we're going to miss next year. But for the playoffs, actually, I don't have a problem.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I mean, for the playoffs, it's same thing, right? The top 70 guys are probably the only ones who are going to be competitive. So when you're talking about a playoff, maybe it makes it a little bit more exciting. I don't really know viewing, I'm not really sure what the reasoning is to just not have those guys in there at all, other than making the two events that we just witnessed, Wyndham being one of them, more competitive, which I imagine is just trying to kind of manufacture some excitement, like, oh, this guy's 80th or whatever. We saw that with Justin Thomas. Maybe that's some sort of way to manufacture some excitement. But going forward, I think my larger point is that I just feel like all we're trying to do is manufacture interest and excitement in the game of golf with the PGA Tour. And I just feel like some of the stuff was fine. I mean, I don't think we need no cut events as frequently, and I don't think we have to mess with stuff as frequently as we are trying to do. But I know that the game of golf is changing, especially with this live deal and everything else. So,
and we're not getting older, and that's not why we have that take. Actually, it probably is, but as you get older, they say change becomes something where you're like a little bit less likely to be cool with change. And I'm becoming more and more that sports guy on my take. And I'm going, am I just becoming old? Is that really all that's what's going on? It's not my opinions have changed. It's change in general.
So I definitely feel that way about the PGA stuff, but I think, I mean, it's golf. Like, does anyone else really even care other than me and you two?
Fair point. That's fair.
Yeah. But don't get me started on conference realignment, because I mean, then I do start to sound old, You
remember when the SEC meant something.
That's right. Yeah. Still lamenting Rutgers exit from the Big East. So, things are not going great for my conference realignment.
We've won back-to-back titles. Life is good for the first time ever from somebody from Georgia. So,
yeah, that's right. I'll tell you another thing, Nate, and this. Life is good for Beard Vet coffee drinkers. Okay, look, Beard Vet coffee is some of the finest coffee you can get in the nation. Go to beardvet.com. That's beardvet.com. You put in the promo code Godzilla. I just did it today. You get 10% off. These guys are veteran founded, veteran focused, and will get you all of your coffee needs in a cheap and quick fashion. So you can go to beardvet.com and you can get all of your coffee needs. Put in that promo code Godzilla. Look, they got the ground coffee, they got the whole bean. You get beard tinctures, you can get coffee cups. They got all sorts of swag, and they are a proud sponsor of Clubhouse Picks and all the stuff that we do at Godzilla Wins. We love Kenny Lee and Sean George over there at Beard Vet. So go to beardvet.com, put in the promo code Godzilla, get a little 10% off, and get your coffee needs fixed. Nate, we can't do a Clubhouse Picks without our man Chan Kim. Where in the world is Chan Kim this week?
Chanimal is grinding in Omaha, Nebraska. Corn Ferry Tour event. We're down to 53 in the points list, so things have not been going well. Looking for a late season push.
I tuned into some of the Corn Ferry stuff this weekend, and all I saw was Pearson Cootie, so I didn't get to see Chan Kim, but I got a lot of Pearson Cootie coverage, so I'm pretty well versed in his game here. So Pearson will not be on the Ryder Cup team, unfortunately. Keith, there's some Ryder Cup drama this year, it feels like. I kind of just want you to take this conversation however you want to take it. I don't really want to set you up with a question because I know you got a lot of thoughts. So I'm just gonna say Keith, Ryder Cup. What do you think?
You just want me to rant like a lunatic. There's several things right now. I am very upset about Ryder Cup going on in the world of golf, Twitter, all this stuff. Number one, anyone defending Justin Thomas should be on this team has lost their damn mind. He has 2 top 50 finishes in his last 10 starts. There are too many good American players for him to get put on the team. We don't ever win this event. Like, we need our best guys, not somebody who is. I love JT, but he's not playing well. I don't trust him. He can't hit a driver good. You're going to play alternate shot with Justin Thomas. Jordan Spieth might kill him. Like that. That's not going to work. The second thing is I want, Phil Mickelson, Tom Hose, every live guy you ever need can name on the Ryder Cup, or again, the people that are the other way and are saying like they wouldn't want Patrick Reed or they don't even want Koepka. I have some people that say stuff like they're un-American. We're all involved in this now, whether we like it or not. All of our hands are dirty. So can we just pick the best golfers? All I want out of this Ryder Cup is we need to be focusing on the best team possible to beat the Europeans, because they kick our ass like every other year, and I'm sick of it. So let's go out, win the Ryder Cup. Let's stop talking about all this stupid stuff. And no JT. I love him, but no JT. He does not need to be a captain's pick.
Totally agree on JT. I mean, it would be criminal to put him on there just based on reputation alone when there's so many more talented. Because it's like, who do you drop? Like, if you just like are picking just straight off the top 12, like who in this list is like JT worse than right now? Like Keegan Bradley's probably the weakest person in the top 12. Keegan,
I don't even know the list
Sam
you're going to
Burns.
say. Everybody, Nate.
Yeah, like it's just.
Nate, go ahead. Just
read
read us the top 12.
Okay, top 12 from top to bottom is Scotty Scheffler, Wyndham Clark, Brian Harmon, Brooks Koepka, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay. Those are the top 6 that would qualify right now. Then after that, we got Homa, Cameron Young, Jordan Spieth, Keegan, Colin Morikawa, and Sam Burns at 12. He's the cutoff. And then Ricky's at 13, JT's at 14.
And that's no live guys either, because you got Reed and all those guys. That
just Brooks who got in on just by playing well in the majors game point.
Yeah, I'm saying they can do it. They can do a captain's pick though with them, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like to me, I would have Reed on the team 100%. Like I know people hate him. I don't like him. Put him with Spieth. JT's not there. We already know that Reed and Spieth have 1 point in the Ryder. They're like 6-2, and force them. So throw them back together. I just think he's played well enough, and he's the kind of guy. They've had their Poulters and those guys. That's part of our issue is we don't take the Patrick Reeds, like the guys that, they may not be the most well-liked guys, but they're really good at match play. He won 2 national titles in college in match play. This guy can play match play. So I think he should be on there. And, if I was going to take a flyer, DJ would be the guy I'd take over JT. But I think they're going to go pretty chalk, right? Morikawa.
I mean, I think you have to. I mean, it just looks so obvious. Yeah.
Fowler.
I agree with your take on Patrick Reed. I mean, not only is he incredible at match play and loves the Ryder Cup, he has been playing really well this year as far as some of these PGA Tour events goes. I mean, I don't follow live enough to pretend to know if Patrick Reed is like doing well at the Aces, whatever.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I mean, in the majors, like he's been good. He's been definitely good. It's not like he's been playing like junk and we're just like, oh, well, he's usually pretty good at match play. Like that's not the argument. He's probably one of the top 12 American golfers right now. Gives us a chance to score some points. Definitely more than JT. I mean, I know that people seem to pile on the JT should be on because whatever, we love him or something, but that's just dumb.
Because he's best friends with Tiger. I'm jealous too, but still,
Yeah. I mean, he's not playing well. I mean, it's not even fun to watch, man. I mean, it was a little bit better at the Wyndham, but it can be really hard to watch him struggle to find his game. But there's a lot more golfers that I'd want to see on that team as well. And then on the other end, I mean, these live guys, like, come on, like, okay, Brooks, yes, Patrick Reed, yes, DJ maybe, but like Taylor Gooch, are you kidding me? Like, what are we talking about? Like,
look what he did in the actual real events he played this year. It's awful.
And I mean, I see that on Twitter and stuff, and I'm like, this must be a joke. Like, this has to be satire because I can't believe that these guys are like standing up for Taylor Gooch at like for the Ryder Cup. It doesn't make any sense.
That could be Twitter's slogan though sometimes, or excuse me, X's slogan sometimes. Is just,
Yeah, that's right.
I think I'm being trolled.
Yeah, is this satire? I'm always having to look up, like, I think, especially with some of the Liv stuff. I'm like, are these guys just making fun of Liv, or are these guys, do they love Liv? Because I think there's some who do, but you never know. You can't really tell.
I've yet
Somebody
to meet
said, "I'm
anyone
gonna
outside
build
of
a
the
following."
internet that loves it.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, we'll see. I definitely think JT shouldn't be on the team. It seems like we all kind of agree on that. I would like to see Reed, and I'd like us to win. That'd be nice. It'd be nice if that was the focus. It's like
Especially
winning.
there. It's been a long time since we've won there.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So we want to get now to our picks here for the St. Jude Classic, which I'm super pumped about because it's in Memphis, which is about an hour from me. I won't be able to go, but no, it always butts up against my job. It's hard for me to this time of year to get out there. But I thought about it. Even Friday, I thought, man, maybe I should go. But
because I'm spoiled being, Atlanta, the tour champion. I go almost every year. It's great.
Yeah, I know. And there'll be a tournament in Jackson too. That Jackson in Mississippi, the Jackson course is actually kind of cool. But we'll see. Yeah, the St. Jude one. I mean, that's a lot of fun. A lot of good golf played in Memphis. So Nate, before we get into our picks here, and we'll do that in a minute, will you just give us a little preview of TPC Southwind? Like, what are we looking for? And then we'll see if Keith has some thoughts on some things that he might be looking for as well.
I mean, TPC Southwind is, it's, it feels like we say this like every year right now, but it's like, well, ball striker course again. It's, it's challenging. I think that approach play, we were talking about it earlier, like bombers who can putt. I think that it's a course that will probably tends to, it did it when it was the WGC anyways, tended to just sort of produce like the best. Like, it wouldn't shock me if it was just like Scotty and Rory like playing well because they play well in these types of courses. And then that's like the end of it. Maybe Keith has a different take, but that's sort of what I feel like when I look at TPC Southwind.
Keith, what exactly are
sorry?
Sorry. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, what are you looking for?
So the big things I'm looking at this week is you have to play well on firm and fast Bermuda greens. Like I think that's imperative. I'm looking more at driving accuracy and position off the tee than I am driving distance or just strokes gained off the tee in general. And then the big thing for me is how do players play from the rough and par four scoring 400 to 500 yards. There's 10 holes that are 400 to 500 yards on this golf course. There's only 2 par fives. They're both reachable. They play not really that under par. So it's not like they're that easy. There are 12 holes that play over par here. So again, I'm looking for players that don't make big numbers. And just for reference, because it's a weird list. You can make a lot of different narratives here. Harris English is the only, former champion in the field. Will Zalatoris is obviously recovering from surgery, but you got Answers one here, JT, Koepka, DJ. And remember, I really looked at the years 2019 to 2021 to see how guys did and their results, because that was a WGC event. So that was actually the same, basically event with 5 extra people. There was a 75-man field. It was the best players in the world. So obviously if somebody did well over that stretch, I put a lot of emphasis on them this week. Hello, Ricky Fowler. Hello, Jason Day, those kind of guys. So that was kind of the way I attacked it.
And if you're just looking at the leaderboard from last year, it's basically just like green and regulation machines. It's just like Iron Gods, Will Zalatoris, Sepp Straka high on the leaderboard, Harmon, Glover, and then Rahm and Finau are tied for 5th. So like it was pretty much just guys that are known for sort of approach play above everything else. Certainly not distance when you're talking about guys like Harmon and Glover. So definitely precision over power.
I'm really focused on putting this week. Those greens are going to be tricky. They're small up there. Those greens are rated 12 on the stimp meter, which is pretty high for any course. Driving accuracy, of course, is big. Scrambling, so a lot of things from the rough. And then par 4 scoring average. I just looked at par 4 average, but If I wanted to be more specific, which I should be, then I should have done 400 to 500 yards because Keith's right there. A lot of par fours there. So, we'll see. There's going to be some precipitation. So they will have some weather to deal with. I think there's been a lot of August in this part of the country can be difficult. The weather comes and goes pretty quickly. And it's hot. I mean, it's really hot.
No, I trust me.
Keith
We're
knows
from the
that
South.
too,
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
It sucks.
So you gotta really like to play in the heat. That's why you see, someone like Harris English top those leaderboards, stuff like that, and he's
and
someone.
he went to UGA.
Yeah, he did. Those UGA guys,
Nice.
man. Brian Harmon, same thing. I mean, that's like
Sepp
that's
Straka.
incredible. Yeah. Sepp-
Russell
Sepp too.
Henley.
Dog.
Mhm.
Bubba.
Yeah. All right.
We're
Patrick-
everywhere.
Patrick Reed for a semester or two. So you got that too. Get him on the Ryder
That's fair.
Cup.
They didn't even
he's
like him at
gotta-
Augusta State. His own teammates did not like him there, and they won 2 titles. That's true. Like, I've talked to people who were there. It's unbelievable. That guy's a real prick, but man, he can play some match play.
Yeah, sometimes all it takes is a little match play. That's all you need. You don't have
Yeah.
to have a personality. So listen, one thing I know that Patrick Reed does well at night is sleep. And one of the ways that
Breaks the
I get to sleep is through MyPillow. So listen, you go to mypillow.com, put in the promo code FUN. That's just FUN, promo code FUN. Get up to 80% off on all your MyPillow needs. That's the hand towels, robes, they got slippers, and they got pillows. If you snore, you get a wedge pillow. Get all sorts of stuff at mypillow.com. So you go to mypillow.com, promo code FUN, up to 80% off on all products over there. Fast shipping, great delivery, good customer service. So mypillow.com, promo code FUN. Okay, let's get into our picks here. We'll start with our guest to honor, Keith. So the way we do this, what's in our bag? Well, just to remind our listeners, we do the driver, iron, wedge, putter, hybrid. Driver could be the big 3, or you could go kind of like sub 20 to 1 and below, I guess. The heavy favorites. Irons are 20 to 40 to 1. Wedges are guys who can be pretty much anywhere on the odds boards, but don't or haven't won lately. Then there's the putter, which is kind of bet and regret, and the hybrid, which is the long shot. So Keith, let's start here with the driver. We'll run through these pretty quickly. Who's your driver for this week?
I'm going to go all the way down to Fowler. I'm especially on DK fading the big 3. They're just so expensive this week. I don't think Fowler is really that much, less value than those guys, especially for $1,000. So I also like his odds to win. I think they're around 28 to 1. Top 10 in the field in strokes gained, tee to green, approach, ball striking, top 5 in the FedEx. Are only playing for cash this week. There's not really much those top guys can do to improve their standings any better than they are right now, or to decrease their chances of winning the FedEx, no matter how bad they do this week. I'm not saying that's going to play a factor, but it's just something to remember. Like, there's some guys have a lot more to play for this week than others. So I'm going to go all the way down to 5. He's got a great record at this event, 3 straight top 20 finishes here. He hasn't played in a few years, but again, 2 of those top 20s were in a field almost this exact same size.
You're right about the expense if you're playing fantasy. I was looking at those top 3. Those guys are way expensive this week. I don't know if it's the shorter field. It probably is. You're used to seeing them expensive, but I mean, we're up in like the 12,000. It's like, oh my God, I mean, how can you afford anybody else if you pick one of these guys? They still have a 1 in 70 chance of winning here. So it's kind of, yeah, you're right about that going down the board. And we always love Fowler. We love him on the show. Nate, who's your driver?
I kind of drifted a little bit down the board too. And this is, it's not one that I would normally expect from myself, but I kind of like Colin Morikawa here at these odds. I feel like he's getting a little bit disrespected at the 22 to 1. He's a great iron player. If we're looking at guys that are great iron players and sort of thinking about that as sort of a guiding sort of just broad statistic, like Colin Morikawa's been great with approach in basically every tournament except 2 since like the season started. And those 2 have just come really recently. So it feels like there's just a little bit of recency bias with his odds getting bumped up. But in between that cut at the Travelers and the cut at the Open, he was tied for second to the Rocket Mortgage, like lost in a playoff. So I don't know. The game is there and the odds just seem a little bit too high for me.
Yeah. Listen, Keith, I have these alternative strokes gained stats.
Mhm.
There's strokes gained resort course, which is, do you play well at a resort course? You get strokes gained for that. There's
Right.
strokes
Like Akshay
gained.
Bhatia is like the all-time leader in like strokes
Yeah.
gained resort
Oh,
right
I
now.
believe that.
Yeah, he's always crushing resort courses. There's strokes gained border states. Do you play well near the Canadian border or in Canada? That's a strokes gained category that I made up. Adam Hadwin's always crushing that one. I have strokes gained weather, which is, do you play well if it's windy or if there's bad weather at all? And Morikawa is like last on my list. So anytime it's even a threat of rain, if you hear thunder in the distance, I stay away from Morikawa. That's not based on any statistic, but I'm just convinced that whenever the weather's bad, he sucks. So there's some of my, I've been trying to get Nate Brown to put some of those on his website. I think strokes gained border state courses has really good potential to
I
catch
love
on
it.
there.
The
That's
bad
what I'm
thing
saying.
is that I would start checking each week to make sure you guys are updating it, because I want to have the end. The next time there's a border
Yeah.
event.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Next time you're up there in Minnesota, you'd be like, oh, let me check strokes gained border. So mine is Patrick Cantlay here, 16-1. I like kind of how he fits into what I feel like is going to be important this week. I've got off the tee as kind of important, driving accuracy, par 4 average, scrambling, birdies, putting. He's basically top 40 in all that. He's top 10 in a lot of those, second in par 4 average, fifth in strokes gained off the tee, third in birdies. He's just been having a great year. I mean, he's one of the best golfers on tour and has been quietly having yet again another just incredible year. 16-1 is a little outside those odds of the big three. So I kind of like Cantlay at this price, but at least for the outright at 16-1. But we'll see. Sometimes he kind of frustrates me because he doesn't win as much as the other guys, and he's always right. Like his odds don't always justify where he's at because he's not winning as frequently as some of these other guys, but he does play incredible golf all the time. So, okay, let's then transition to the irons here. We'll start again with Keith. These are just guys who are reliable. They win. Guys you like to bet 20 to 40 range. Could be higher. Just depends.
All right, I'm going to go Jason Day. I loved reading earlier this week in a Australian paper that Day, he's about to have his 5th child. And he said a goal is to win the FedEx Cup. That's something he wants to do. He wants to be the first Australian player to do so. I read into stuff like that. Day has had an incredible year, and people forget it because he did what anybody would have done after working that hard and finally getting a win. He said, you know what? I'm going to basically take 2 months off. The first month, unfortunately, he took off while he was still playing tournaments. And then he took a month of actual vacation. He comes back at the Open. I was all over him. It's like he's having this, what do you want? He's top 15 in freaking everything. Putting, strokes gain around the green, short game. His approach has actually been the worst this year. It's been in years. He's 40th in this field and approach. He's still that elite. Like he's having a down year. And he's 40th with the 70 best guys in the world on approach. Day is, to me, I love looking ahead for the FedEx. I think that he's 11th. That's kind of that perfect position where he could actually just have a couple of top 5s the next 2 weeks. Top 10s probably get near that 5th position, which is so big going into. And he's also got a good record at this venue. His last 4 starts at Southwind, 2 top 10 finishes, averaging over 4 strokes gained total on the field in those events. And I mean, I don't even know, what is he, like 45 to 1? What is he this week to win?
I don't know either. I know
he's 30 to 1 right now.
30 to 1. I still love it at 30 to 1. I keep forgetting because it's a 70-man field. Everybody's numbers are down. But yeah, I like Day. I like him going forward. I also like Wyndham Clark going this range a lot too. He's proven on this exact kind of golf course that he plays well. So that would kind of be those 2 guys in that range I would be looking at this week.
I've seen Day on a lot of different models pop up. I think you're right to be pretty high on him this week. I think he's going to have a good week. And then when you're talking those approach courses like this, like Nate's saying, I mean, Wyndham Clark's always good. Nate, who is your iron this week?
My iron it's kind of boring because Keith already talked about him, but my iron that I had singled out was Ricky Fowler. I mean, I'm willing to kind of throw out the most recent sort of numbers, like the losing the strokes around the green at the Scottish Open and Open Championship. Who cares? The approach numbers weren't awesome at links golf courses. Who cares? But before that, before he went to Scotland and in the UK, like his numbers were out of this world. I expect those numbers to just come back to, what they were before, and he'll just keep on, notching top 10s, top 5s, maybe a win. A win feels very reasonable for him here, given sort of where he's at right now.
Same deal as day, right? And not won in forever. It is natural. These guys have worked. So, I mean, think about how hard they work, especially for guys like Fowler and Day who reached the pinnacle and then fell. It is natural that they are not going to play. They're not in it the first few weeks after that win. I'm 100% with you. I think Fowler is somebody to look out for the next 3 weeks.
I mean, he's just been so solid, and you're right. I mean, these guys, they reach that goal and they take some time off. It's a grueling sport that mentally can be just really difficult on you. So that's kind of how it goes sometimes. I think I think Fowler's really a solid pick there. Mine here is Feral Tyrrell Hatton. I just feel
yes.
Look, 22-1 that's about where he lives all the time. He's just having such an incredible year. I'm so pumped that I honestly think he could win the FedEx playoffs. Like that's how good I think he's been just overall. I know he hasn't put it together and it hasn't resulted in a win lately, but also on a course like this, I mean, I just want elite putters. I really do. That's why Fowler to me is an awesome pick too. Hatton, you just have to love it every time he steps onto the green. He's off the tees, strokes gained, he's 10th, par 4 scoring average, he's 4th, strokes gained putting, he's like 6th. And he's just, even the last 4 events, I mean, T20 at the Open, T6 at Genesis, T27 at US Open, T3 at RBC. I mean, it's just top 20, top 20, top 20, top 5, top 10. He's been in the mix every tournament that he plays in. I think even at 22-1, I still like his odds in a field that's only has 70 in here. I mean, I'm pretty jacked up for Tyrrell. I'm going to be on him pretty much until the FedEx Cup is over, I think.
My co-host, the 2 off the tee, calls him mini Rom. So whenever he doesn't want to spend on Rom to bet or like for DK, he goes to Hatton because he's right. Like when Hatton putts well, he's pretty tough to beat because everything else is, pretty spectacular. And then he's also like Rom, got a temper and can just at any minute, blow a switch and God knows, what could happen. So I told him at first, you kind of laugh when you hear it. And then I'm like, it kind of makes sense. He is kind of like a mini Rom.
He is. And you're right that a lot of times he'll be, if I play the fantasy stuff, which you can do in Mississippi too, he'll be the top guy on my board because he's pretty cheap. And yet he plays like the big dogs. So you get him for a little bit of a discount.
Ton of birdies.
Yeah, he does. Right. And for that fantasy stuff, man, it's like you really want guys who can capitalize on putting. So we'll move then to the wedges here. These are guys we love, but maybe they haven't won in a while. Keith, who's your wedge in this category?
Can Sam Burns count?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. That's Bermuda Burns is my wedge. So go for it.
All right. I was just going to say that I have talked about Bermuda Burns for I think 3 years now. Again, because anytime there's some data out there that I can find, I'm going to live by it until I see something different. He always putts well on Bermuda greens. He always plays well on Bermuda courses. You look at his win earlier this year at the match play, Bermuda greens that were firm and fast, very similar to what they're going to be playing this week. He is just, one of those guys that 2 top 15 finishes at this venue, had a runner-up in his only limited event here. So that was 75 players. Again, the field will be 70 this week. I love Bermuda Burns. I'm a little worried he's got to get in the fairway. That's my only concern. But if he does, look out. Because again, you want to talk about approach play. He's a great mid-iron player, short iron player. And I think this is a course that he can hit a lot of greens and regs. The other area he kind of struggles is around the greens. But I love Burns anytime on a Bermuda course. And he's 8,100 on DK, which is disrespectful. How dare they put Bermuda Burns all the way down at 8,100? I got him one.
Yeah, and I mean, it really is. Now he's 30-1 to outright, which is a little bit more kind of in his wheelhouse. I wasn't shocked to see that, but yeah, 8,100 is pretty.
They're
pretty
killing
low
the fun
for-
in gambling. Like they really are with these odds. This is crazy.
Yeah,
It's true.
Well, that's
it's worse for Nate in Nevada because it's controlled by William Hill basically, right? And I mean those odds.
So is that an average? Is that what that is?
What's that?
How does that work? Is that like an average of different
They
sports
just have
betting
like
books?
they basically just have like a monopoly on the state. They're really like one of the only operations that you can bet on mobile in Nevada. There's just not very many options, so they sort of just control the market by default.
Wow. So
So it's, like,
basically,
super annoying.
yeah, that is. I was gonna say that doesn't sound fun.
It's not a very competitive market up here.
No, yeah, he can't get anything. I mean, we'll look at stuff on outright. I mean, I can't get outrights either in Mississippi, but if I'm in Tennessee, I can. And he'll ask me the odds, and his odds will be so much worse. I mean, it's almost laughable. And then you can't do any props. I mean, there's like nothing.
No top
it's
tens, no
just-
top fives, nothing.
They don't allow it.
Handful of matchups, and that's it. What's that?
That's right. Oh, that's awful. That's not gay. Come on, like you call yourself a casino or a book.
It's annoying.
It's like, come on.
It's old school Nevada gambling. It's like all those
Yeah.
Nevada laws that are like, we do this the right way. It's like, okay, bud. whatever.
Cowboy hats and smoky rooms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you can lose as much as you want at the poker table, but you just can't bet Bermuda Burns on a top 10.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, right. That's where we draw the line.
This is America. Come on.
I love Bermuda Burns too, man. I mean, the accuracy is rough. Like 130th in driving accuracy.
I'm
So, like,
concerned. Straight up. A little bit.
Yeah.
I love him.
You have
though.
to
I'm all in.
Yeah, you have to maybe find the fairway, but I'm on him too. He's my wedge as well. I think he'll be fine. And it's just, and he's from Louisiana. He's a Southern boys, just driving up for a little day trip.
Starting to look like Cam Smith more and more every day. Like, what is going on? What are you doing, Sam? Get a haircut.
Yeah, that's true. Nate, what do you think? Who's your wedge?
My wedge is Tommy Fleetwood.
All right.
Just seems like the
Fleetwood.
kind of course that he would be good at. His results have been outrageous. The approach numbers are killer right now. Aside from that 1 week at the Travelers, I mean, everything else has been so strong. He's been putting incredible. At some point, Tommy Fleetwood will win. And this was like me and Jack
Are you
talking
sure?
earlier, where I'm like getting pissed off because I keep getting off these guys a week or two too early. And this is me getting back on Tommy Fleetwood. And this is what's going to happen now. Tommy Fleetwood's going to win finally. And I'm going to have stayed on someone.
I hope it happens now.
Yeah,
know you've
I
had
don't
a
know,
rough
man. The RBC playoff just killed me for Fleetwood. Just missing those makeable putts. I can't. I was on him that week, and it's just, man. I mean, it's like, come on, dude. You got to make one putt on the 17th, and you win the RBC, and you can't do it. Like that. It's all you do is putt. So, anyway, I hope he wins for you, man. I really do. But I got off him, and I'm not getting back on him for a while. He hurt my feelings at the RBC. So,
He hurt my feelings years ago. That's why I said he is.
yeah. I mean, Nate's been going back and forth with him now for like 5 years.
Yeah.
I get it, man.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me. I understand. I've been there.
So let's do we got about 2 more categories here, then we'll get out of here. Bet and regret. This is your putter. Keith, who's the guy you bet and immediately think, oh man.
For this week, it's Aaron Rye. I'm way too confident in him. Way too confident in him. He's 7K on DK. I put him in my official lineup. I think he's gonna be low owned. He missed the cut last week. I know he's been playing well coming into it, but then you get in a field like this, then there's guys, only a few $100s more, like say Sepp Straka. Maybe people skip over him. He's got top 10 in tour accuracy this season. Over his last 30 rounds, he's top 10 in both strokes gained total and approach. He's got 2 starts at this event. His worst finish is 46. 26. He has a history at this event. He had a T12 in a limited field event just a few years ago. He's the kind of ball striker that should do well here. Obviously his putter scares me a little bit, but he can ball strike his way. I think at this price tag, to be a really good play on DK. And I do still like him for the prop odds, but I don't, it's one of those deals that I'm not going to be surprised at all if come Monday I'm cussing myself for, having him in my lineup and multiple bets on him.
I've rode the Aaron Rye roller coaster for a long time. Every week I'm just like, I don't know, man. I mean, it's the ball striking. He's just so good with the ball striking. And not only that, he's there on Thursday and he's maybe there on Friday. And you're like, I'm such a genius. Like, I'm the only guy who talks about Aaron Rye. I mean, I do this for a living. Like, this should be my job. And then by Sunday, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I picked Aaron Rye. He finished T42. Yeah, that happens all the time. So I get it. I'm on that Rye roller coaster constantly. Nate, who's your bet regret?
My bet regret is someone that we've gone on about at length. It's Sam Burns for like basically all the reasons mentioned. Like, I too fall in love with Bermuda Burns, and I'm like, played well here. Looks like a great matchup or a great course for him, And then like you just like look at it and you're like, well, he's had one top 10 in his last, basically since he won the match play, and then like he's missed 2 of his last 4 cuts. Like he's just like, or missed, I guess, 2 of his last 5 cuts. Like, it's just, there's no reason for me to be this optimistic. There's no reason for any of us to be this optimistic about Sam Burns this week. And that's why it's my bet regret. Like, there, in a universe where all of us agree this much, and I see everybody on Twitter doing this, I see it on mainstream stuff. I think we're all probably just wrong. I think we're all just drinking the Kool-Aid.
I don't know, man. There's the top 10 players the last 5 years in total strokes gained at this venue. Sam Burns is 9th. Every other guy on that list has played it at least 3 times. 8 of the 10 have played it 4 times. I think there's one that's played it 3. Burns has played it twice, and he's 9th from just his 2 appearances here. Top 15, runner up. He likes this venue. We know he plays those well. I really like Sam Burns this week.
I know.
Well, I mean, I do think that there is, again, that was one of the first things I looked at was just the total strokes gained at this venue the last 5 years. You get 3 of the years of the limited events. And that, just in case people want it, Sadecki, Rory, Fowler, Day, Cantley, Fleetwood. So, I mean, a lot of guys we've been talking about. Spieth, Rahm, Burns, Kuchar.
Okay. Kuchar.
Hooch.
He's
getting those aggregate strokes gained just by showing up.
He's gonna be on the senior tour before we know it, killing it.
Yeah, he would be he's gonna be such a hot senior tour pick.
Oh yeah.
As soon as he gets on there, just like, oh, here comes
like 4 to 1.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Second coming of,
give the other guys a chance.
Longer.
Like minus 250. Oh man. So my bet and regret is Lucas Glover because he can't just keep
don't
winning.
regret it. Don't regret it. Yes, he can.
Yeah, like that's what I'm
can.
saying. He's like the hottest golfer in the world right now, and he's just putting incredible. So like 75 to 1, like come on, give me the odds. Like
I'm with you. Disrespectful. It is.
Yeah. I had to go Command F and type Glover into the find function on my computer to find him because I thought he'd be like 45, 50 to 1, and I couldn't figure out where he was. I was like 75 to 1. Like, what is this? This guy just won 2 tournaments. So, there's something I must be missing. I mean, his stats don't exactly add up to what I'm asking for here, considering he is on the season 166 in strokes gained putting, but that is the old Lucas Glover, and the new Lucas Glover is one of the best putters in the world. So as long as he
went
keeps
from
doing
losing 0.7 on the greens to gaining 0.6, that's like unheard of.
I mean, it's just, that's nuts. I mean, he should, whatever he did, he should just sell that like in a package, $29.99.
It's the company that's doing it. I actually have one of their putters.
Oh, really?
Do you like it?
I mean, it's the most ugly thing you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah,
I don't use it in competition, but anytime I start struggling with putting, that's what I'll practice putting with because it just kind of gets your hand. I don't totally understand though how he's doing it because the whole deal with anchoring is you anchor it to a point on your body, right? And it's just I'm not really sure what is the point or like how does he know it's that's staying online, but whatever it is, it's working. But they've had a lot of guys with the longer putters and been really getting creative with the way they make them. And again, data's data. Dude's rolling the rock. And I'm with you. Last week was the week where we should all say, I can't believe we were on Glover. This week, if it happens again at 75-1 and you haven't thrown a few dollars on him, what are you doing? Like, for real, it could happen. He already proved last week that it wasn't a fluke. This guy's won a US Open, been a great player a long time, and his putting's always been his issue. He's a great ball striker.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's not like this is a fluke. Like, he has been good for a long time on tour. So I'm happy to see him playing well, and I'm glad to be on him at 75-1. Okay, long shots here. We'll do our hybrid, then we'll get out of here. Keith, who's the long shot you got?
Like, how long do you want to go? Give me my boy Eric Cole. I love Eric Cole. Love Eric Cole. He has been in my lineup. I would seriously bet 10 plus times this year. They're so disrespectful to my man on DraftKings. He's been in that 7,800 to he's 6,900 this year. That's the disrespect that they have for him. Cole consistently makes birdies. I think he's had 15 or more now in 8 of his last 11 events. Last week, it's sometimes painful to watch him because he makes so many birdies, then he'll make a double, then he'll make a bubble or a bogey, and his score just doesn't get where you want, but he's a great value on DK this week. And eventually he is going to win. One of the comp courses for me, I looked at Eastlake, PGA National, which is, if you remember, Eric Cole lost into a playoff earlier this year at. So he has proved he can play this kind of golf course. Why not? Give me Eric Cole.
130-1 on Eric Cole. I think that's a solid long shot there. Nate, who you got? I know you can get dark.
I can get dark. I don't think this is a big long shot week, and I've kind of been vacillating between the two. Maybe I'll just say them both out loud.
Do it.
My head says Cam Davis, who's been playing pretty well, and this looks like the kind of course that he tends to excel at. I've talked a lot about how he looks like he should profile as sort of a guy that excels on bombing courses, but instead he's just really good when he has to dial it back a little bit. This looks like his kind of course. So, and he's been playing pretty well. So Cam Davis is the one my head says. My heart says Siwoo. This is a Siwoo Kim golf course.
It's a Siwoo Kim course for sure.
So those are my two, my head, my heart. I mean, me and Siwoo Kim, we get each other.
That's true. You do. You understand Siwoo Kim more than anyone else. Whoever he gets married to will never understand him quite like you do, because you are on him every single week. And when he wins, it's going to be the week you're off him and you're going to retire from this. You're just going to throw your microphone.
You're never going to hear me again.
Yeah. The 1 week you jump off of him.
But we can at least make money off of it if it continues to happen, because we now know the pattern, right? It's like, you come on here, you do your picks. If we're against them, we'll bet on them, right? Like, if you've been on somebody for 4 weeks, you're off of it. We all bet, we all win.
Yeah, that's the tried and true status. Whenever Nate gets off somebody, they are guaranteed to hit that next week. That's just how it's been going for him, which has got to be frustrating. And I'm sorry that's happening to you.
Thank you.
But I'm saying that we would share with you, Nate. Like, if I'm going to win money on your picks one way or the other, you're getting paid.
Yeah, I'm not sharing with you.
Start putting that premium content behind a paywall.
Yeah, right. Good luck with that. You put it to ask people to Venmo you. Okay, so mine is Dietrich, Thomas Dietrich. 110-1. You know, look, par 4 scoring average, he's 4th. He scrambling, he's 25th. Birdies, he's 29th. Putting, he's 52nd. You know, I mean, it's good short game basically, with good par 4 scoring. Longer game, not always totally awesome, but he played well at the Open T13. He Wyndham 21st and Genesis T42nd. So he's the last 3 tournaments he's played, he's made those cuts. He missed 2 cuts before that, but he's been playing pretty well with pretty elite tournament talent to me. So I just kind of like Dietrich here. I think 110-1 is the fine price. Throw a couple bucks on him if you're into that and see where it goes. I don't know what his price is, but you know, he pops up a lot on people's kind of long shot list, or if you're looking for someone in probably the 7,000 to 8,000 range, he can be pretty useful on that stuff. So I like Dietrich this week. I think he's got a shot at making a little bit of noise. Not saying he can come out and win, but you never know.
You're
I
not
mean,
giving me a guaranteed winner with your long shot. You jerk,
man.
man. Come on.
I'm not. Yeah, you gotta ask Nate Brown if you want those. You know, that guy's
Oh,
No
God.
shit.
the full long
both-
shot doctor.
I do want to say Cam Davis and Dietrich are both. I mean, I think Dietrich's like 30. Cam Davis is 28. Tons of talent. Like those guys were top players in the world growing up. And they're kind of reaching that point where I'm with you that it's like now's the time to bet on them because it's either going to happen in like the next year or two with these guys or it's not. Because, you know, these guys seem to reach a certain age. It's like, okay, it's just not going to happen. I think both of these guys with the talent that they have, it would not shock me if they won like 2-3 events over the next 2 years at all.
Yeah, I tend to agree here. So I like Dietrich.
Yeah.
Keith, if somebody wants to go to read your fantasy picks, tell us where they can go. We're gonna get out of here here in a minute, but I want to make sure that anyone who's interested in reading that fantasy six pack knows where to go.
I appreciate it. It is both at the website, that's fantasy6pack.net. The easiest place, honestly, to find all of my stuff is my Twitter. Sure, you might have to sometimes mine through either something dumb I tweeted earlier, or maybe, you know, a few retweets because I get on those retweet kicks. I can't help it. But I typically do pin my latest work to the top of my page, so that way it's easy for you to find. You can also find me on the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel. We do a show called Two Off the Tee. We did not do one this week. We will be doing the next 2 weeks with me and my co-host Alan. And then again on Wednesdays, I go on the Inside Drive. It's a local sports radio show on ESPN Northwest Florida Radio, where I do basically 2 segments, talking DFS, the golf course, previewing the event. And that's every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, which is local for them, which is confusing, but I finally got it. But I love your guys' works. Always have fun coming on here and like chopping it up, and appreciate the invite. Anytime y'all want to talk golf, I'm down.
I appreciate it, Keith.
Yeah, we love having you on the show. And look, I mean, I'm not saying you need to rebrand your Twitter this way, but if you rebranded your Twitter as the Jalen Carter watchdog, I probably would be okay with that as well. Because I know for a fact this season, every time that guy collects a sack, you're going to be just retweeting everything, being like, nothing against Bijan Robinson, but Jalen Carter was the right choice. So, which I agree with you, man. I totally agree with you.
Falcons are gonna Falcons, man. It's like I'm at a loss for words, and all I do is talk. This is what being an Atlanta Falcons fan is. A friend of mine was asking me the other day, like, you know, what happens if this happens or that happens? I'm like, dude, we're dead inside. It's long gone. Like, there's nothing there. You lose a Super Bowl 28-3. Like, my body still goes to games, but my sports soul has been dead long ago, man. It's all about the dogs.
Make it incredible.
The Hawks, you know, are just as heartbreaking. And of course, kind of like my boy Nate, I decide, you know what, baseball is not really for me. Not that I'm rooting against them. I just don't watch baseball. So I don't consider myself a real Braves fan. Again, I'm not rooting against them. I don't watch baseball. They go on to win a World Series after like a 20-year drought, which I was a huge Braves fan and watched every game. So Nate, I do understand how it feels. It's not fun.
No, it's not. I told
It's
I made this analogy on our radio show last week about being a Falcons fan, especially last season, where you'd sit there and it'd be like a 7-8 minute drive. And like you'd maybe get in the end zone and you're like, oh, okay, like we're up 9-7. There's like 35 seconds left in the half. Like that was a really good, you know, drive. Like we even Kyle Pitts ran a route and Cordero Patterson ran it 100 times. And then we got in the end zone and great. Now we're up 9-7. Then I go to the bathroom and I come back and it's just like the Panthers taking the lead into the half, 14-9 on a 95-yard connection, Baker Mayfield. And you're just like, what was that? What happened? You know, and then you just sit there and you think, you know, I don't know why I do this.
It's the 2-minute rule for Falcons fans. If there's 2 minutes left in the first or second half, we ain't winning. Like the other team's either going to be scoring, we'll turn it over. We do the dumbest stuff in the most important parts of football games, which is, you know, obviously a problem. Having said all that, let me get this on the record right here. The Falcons will win at least 9 games this year. I think they got a chance to
Whoa.
win or 10 or 11. I'll do the actually, we're gonna get into football in a few weeks, but do the exercise for yourself. When I look at for like futures and all that kind of stuff for football, I look at the schedule and I literally just read the quarterbacks off. That's all I do. I look at it's a quarterback league. I want to know who is your quarterback, and then that whether or not you can actually beat that team or not. The Falcons' schedule is unbelievable. Like, you name a first or second year starter, we play them all once. We play most of them twice. I think we have 2 elite quarterbacks, I'd say, you play against, and that's being top 7 elite. And then it's a lot of rookies like the Tannehills of the world. We have Richardson. Obviously, you got the murderer's row of Carr, Baker Mayfield, and Bryce Young in our division. We get PJ Stroud, we get Jordan Love, we get Sam Howell. I mean, it's Kyler Murray may not be back by the time we play the Cardinals. There's going to be at least 1 or 2 teams in NFC South that win 9-10 games. Their schedule is cake.
If the Falcons won 11 games, I am betting my house on whoever they play in the divisional rounds.
Right?
Like, if they win the Super Bowl, I won't have a home, but I'll be happy at least. But if they win 11 games, there's no way. And yet I'll be on the radio being like, listen, the Falcons got
Something special going on in Atlanta.
Desmond Ritter
never
is
seen it
better
like
than
this.
Jalen Hurts, that kind of stuff. Doing our Stephen A. Smith impersonation.
Yeah, it's it's fun. It's cathartic to talk to another Falcons fan. It really is. Sometimes it feels very isolating. So
I'm still dead inside. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, I would tend to agree. So we want to thank Keith for joining us this week for Clubhouse Picks. Had a great time. Hoping that the St. Jude Championship is a terrific championship. Should be a lot of fun heading into the FedEx Cup playoffs. If you like what you hear, you can smash that subscribe button on YouTube, hit the like button. You can like us on all the podcast platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, all the stuff that I'm doing off the top of my head. We want to thank Keith for joining us. We want to thank Nate as always. You can go to GodzillaWins.com to get all of your sports analysis and predictions heading up into the football season. We got a loaded lineup, about 100 articles a month on different college football and NFL topics. So we're very excited about that. Thanks for listening. Hope you all have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week for Nate. What's the tournament?
The BMW Invitational at Olympia Fields Country Club outside Chicago. Did I get that right?
Perfect.
I think that's it.
I think you did. So, okay.
Excellent.
We want to thank everybody for listening. Have a great weekend. Happy golfing.